60 mile per hour in standard. Ooh. Whoa, it's leaning. All right, let's talk about Infiniti Dynamic Digital Suspension again, DDS. But we're gonna talk about the difference between sport and standard mode. And when I'm reading, I'm always reading comments all the time, just looking to see what people don't understand and give me a chance of something to talk about. So one of the things I kept seeing was that whenever somebody posts about the dynamic digital suspension or just talks about their suspension in general, and if they have a red sport or a silver sport with dynamic digital suspension, they always say that they don't really notice the difference. The suspension ain't all that. It's just OEM, blah, 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 which is very far from the truth, but I guess that's my opinion. And at first I'm like, how can people not notice this? How can people not notice when you put the standard and sport? And then it dawned on me, because people are trained to think of this adaptive suspension like a two-mode suspension, and they are two separate things. So most people are used to now, with all these digital or settings and personalization that they have in the car. Now, most people are used to, you put it in sport. That means suspension is going to be real firm and just, or drive a little harder on the road. And then you put it in soft, it's going to be soft and cushy on the road. And it's just static. It's either soft or it's hard. Yeah, it's either soft or it's hard. So if you're used to that and you have that paradigm in your mind, and then you come to an adaptive suspension, it's gonna throw you for a loop. So let's see. I thought of a good way to explain this. So in your normal two-mode suspension, let's say we got a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being soft and 10 being the hardest the dampers or the shocks can go. So your normal two-mode suspension, when you flip the switch to soft, let's say soft is a setting of 3 from the factory. And then let's say hard would be a setting of 8 from the factory. So when you flip the switch to soft, the dampers go to setting 3 and they stay at 3 no matter what you're doing. And no matter what the road conditions are, choppy road, whatever, it's going to be on 3. And if you try to do some sporty driving with the suspension on 3, you're going to get a whole bunch of body roll, and you're going to be like, oh, junk, I forgot to put it in sport. Then, it's like, so if you put it in sport, it's going to be on setting of 8. And no matter how good or bad the road is, what you're doing, it's going to be on a setting of 8, and it's going to stay there. And then you're going to get on this real bad, choppy piece of pavement. You're going to go, oh man, I still got it in sport. I need to put it back in soft. So because the two settings are going to be static between the 3 for soft and the 8 for hard. But with an adaptive suspension, it's not static. It works in a range. So let's say for the soft setting, the range would be from 3 to 8. And then for the hard or sport setting, the range would be from 5 to 10. So if you're driving down the road and you have it in standard or soft, it's going to drive nice and cushy down the road. But then as soon as you start doing any type of for real driving, and once again, because adaptive suspension is getting signals from your brake, gas pedal, height sensor, G sensor, yaw sensor, your transmission, the RPM, your engine. It's so many signals. I probably put up a chart of showing how many signals the DDS system on Infiniti has. But it's getting all these signals, so it knows. All right, you're in standard. The road is smooth, so we can leave the car set on the softest setting, and it's just gonna glide across the road. Or the road is rough, so let's make it a little softer than what it was. Say 3 is the floor, but even though the 3 is the bottom setting, normally driving down the road, it might bring it up to 5. Just riding down the road, it might. But then once it notices the road is bumpy, it go, oh, the road is bumpy. We're gonna set the damper to 3 now, and then knock out so you don't feel the bumpy road. Then let's say you go and take a curve. You're still in standard. It's gonna ramp it up to 8, and you can take that curve, and you probably don't even need to change the setting from to sport. But then therein lies the problem where the disconnect is. So we go to sport, the floor setting is 5 and the top setting is 10. So let's say we driving down the road, it's smooth, and you notice that in your normal standard setting, it would have set it to 5 anyway, and for that smooth road. Your sport setting has a floor of 5 for that smooth road. It's gonna also set it at 5. So between sport and standard, ain't nothing changed right now, because you both going down that smooth road. It was looking for a setting of 5. It can get 5 in sport. It can get 5 in standard. So people say, I can't feel the difference. You're right, because there was no difference, because that setting is available in both sport and standard. We have an overlap between the damping settings between about 5 in this hypothetical example. So between 5 and 8, both sport and standard can run damping settings between 5 and 8. But let's say you actually push the car around that same corner again. Now, if you pushed it the same amount you did when you was in standard, and the car said, well, we only need an 8 of damping, then the difference between sport and standard is not going to be seen again, because you turned the car said we only needed an 8. An 8 is available in sport, an 8 is available in standard, and we good. So, like I said, that overlap is the problem of why you won't per se notice the difference. But let's say you go take that same curve and you do it harder or faster, or you throw the car into the curve. Now that you in the sport setting, you can actually get to a damper setting of 10. And it's going to hold the car. You're not going to get the body roll that it's going to keep the car from rolling, pitching, or diving, and in that 10 setting. But then you tried that same curve and you threw it real hard in standard. Now you're going to actually notice that the car leaned a little bit more in standard versus sport. And I'm really oversimplifying it so that people can kind of see that this is a setting range versus a static setting of 3 and 8. We got between 3 and 8 for standard, and we got between 5 and 10 for sport. So it's a range of settings, not a static setting. So I'm oversimplifying for that. So to give a little more detail, so in sport, it may make the valve for the shock react a little faster. So that going from a 5 to a 10, it'd be quicker than the standard setting, maybe going from a 3 to an 8. They both, 6 points of damping, but you go through that 6 points in standard versus going to that 6 in sport would be faster. It's going to react a little bit faster. So there's other little stuff going on like that between standard and sport also, of how it's going to react and the reaction time versus standard and sport also, that you do not get with a 2 mode. But so here's, with a standard 2 mode, there's advantages to that, because you just kind of know what you in. So you flip it to soft and it's going to be a setting of 3. You flip it to sport or firm, it's going to be a setting of 8. But with the adaptive suspension, The computer is deciding how much damping is needed within that range, you know, based on if you're in standard or sport. So that's basically what I wanted people to kind of understand. And then I'm gonna see if I can demonstrate this, and I'll show you how I'm gonna do it next. All right, I went and got some green painter's tape, and I'm gonna see, can we see the squatting or compression and rebound of the suspension. I'm gonna mark it with some painter's tape and coming up right here. So, and I'm gonna try to use the magic of video editing here to do this. So I'll put a piece of green tape right there, and so that we can have a point of reference on the video, so that we can see how far down the dampers allow the car to compress, and how far up it allows it to, how far the rebound goes up, depending on the mode. And we're gonna take some curves and show this. And I'm gonna do the same curve at the same speed, and I'm gonna do it in sport, and then I'm gonna do it, you know, or in standard first, and then I'm gonna do it in sport. And then I may, depending on how much time, I may, you know, do a couple of other different curves. But I got a particular curve in mind that I'm gonna do that I know I got an empty road and I can, you know, pretty much be there. And we're gonna use this frame of reference right here. So either, if my video editing skills allow, I'm probably gonna edit in a line that can like track this piece of tape, or at worst, I'll just I'll show two pictures side by side, and we can kind of see how much higher the green is from picture to picture. So one of the ways, but either way it go, you're gonna get to see it. All right, we made it to my mostly abandoned road. I'm gonna take this left-hand turn at about 45 miles per hour. Well, it looks like it's gonna be 50. So at about 50 miles per hour, and we're gonna see how much the car rolls. This is in standard. All right, so that was in standard. It was no drama. All right, let's turn it around. Gonna do the same thing again in standard, but we're gonna make a right. We're gonna hurry up and get up to 50. All right, we're gonna stay around 50 miles per hour and take this turn. Not much drama. All right, well, we get to a point where I can turn around, and we're gonna switch it to sport mode and do the same thing. All right, I can turn around here. Just flipped it into sport mode, as you hear the downshift. I'm gonna turn around. I'm gonna do this again in sport now. As you can hear, that car is a little more peppy. And we're gonna take this curve at 50 miles per hour again. I might need to do this faster. This seems too easy for the car. All right, 50 miles per hour in sport mode. Nothing. All right, well, turn around. We're gonna go back the other way at 50. All right, about 50 miles per hour. Let's take this turn. It's in sport mode. Wow. basically no body roll. All right, we're gonna have to go a tad faster. We'll do this one more time, a tad faster. We're gonna go up to 60 because there seems to be no sweat for the car. See, can we get this to actually show some for real body roll? But this is what I'm talking about, the adaptiveness. So this is in sport, and we're gonna go around the curve at 60. So it's 10 miles per hour faster. Hopefully we can get it to actually body roll. All right, I think that did it better. All right, so that's sport, going around at 60. And we're gonna make the right hand at 60. Then we're gonna come back around and standard at 60. Let's see what the difference is. All right, let's get up to 60. All right, we're at 60. I'll take the curve at 60. Lost some speed. 60. There we go. That wasn't too bad. All right, let's do that same thing in standard. Let me get to a safe spot to turn around. All right, let's do this. Put this in standard. All right, let's get up to 60 in standard. We're in 60, around 60 miles per hour in standard mode. Let's see. Kind of do it without 60 miles per hour in standard. Ooh, whoa, it's leaning. Oh, I can feel that. I don't know if that's gonna show up on camera, but 60 miles per hour in standard mode leaned the car. I don't know if that's gonna show up, but I sure felt it. Let's do that again. All right, let's get up to 60. All right, 60 miles per hour and standard right-hand turn now. Oh, look at that. Oh, man. Yeah, that's completely different. All right, I got one more thing to show y'all the difference. We're gonna get on the highway. All right, so I'm taking a little bit from Initial D on this one. I'm gonna use a cup of water to demonstrate the difference in sport and standard over choppy road. So right now I am in standard. As you can see, the car leans when I made that right. All right, but we're gonna get on this highway. The middle lane on the highway here is very choppy. Oh, before we start, let me mention. So if you notice, when I was at 40 miles per hour, standard and sport pretty much acted the same. And well, 50 miles per hour. But it wasn't until I pushed it up to 60 miles per hour till we actually saw the difference in the damping. So I just wanted to point that out, showing you that overlap between the two modes. All right, so we're in standard, and this guy, you can hear the lines in the road. So you can take a look at the water. The car is pretty smooth. Hitting the lines. All right, let's go into sport. Look at the water now in sport. All right, we're getting back to the lines. Look at the water now. We're going 70 miles per hour. We're in sport. All right, let's go back to standard. All right, same choppy road. We're at 70 miles per hour. Look at the water now. All right, we're going into sport. All right, we in sport. 70 mile per hour. Look at the water. And if you can't see me, you should be able to see the camera shaking more too. This is in sport. All right. Let's go into standard. Let's see what's happening now. Over this choppy pavement. It's mellowed out. I can hear it, but if you notice, the water ain't moving too much. Alright, still in standard. Hitting this choppy pavement. We at 70 mile per hour still. Alright, let's go into sport. Same pavement. The water like it want to shake out of the thing now. You see that? We're hitting these same rivets. Look at the water now. This is still sport. All right, let's go to standard before we get off the highway. All right, we're in standard now. 70 mile per hour. Still in standard. Look at the water just calming down. But it's noticeably, well, you can see it in the water, but you can definitely feel it in your butt that these rivets or rifts or whatever you call them in the road are. All right, let's go back into sport before we get off the highway. All right, we're still in sport. We on a nice smooth road now in sport. So look at that. It's not gonna beat you up if it don't need to. Still in sport, it ain't gonna beat you up if you don't need to. All right, you're gonna hit this bump in sport. All right, it don't need to beat you up, it's not. All right, well, I hope y'all got to learn a little bit about the suspension. Hopefully my demonstration showed, you know I showed you on the turn. I know that, but hopefully the water thing can kind of show you. So I think that was the best way to do it. But until next time, don't forget to like and subscribe.